Big issues are bringing out big crowds at the Capitol complex. We start off in school. Lawmakers are aiming to regulate so-called scream rooms after outraged parents and students spoke out about them earlier this year in Middletown. Fox Connecticut's Jim Altman has the latest on this new push.
Seclusion rooms, safe rooms, or scream rooms. There has been an uproar over them since January when it was reported that 2 teachers at Farm Hill Elementary in Middletown held an upset student inside a 4x6 scream room there. Today, the Select Committee on Children listened to the public. Bill 5347 calls for more accountability and would require schools to report how often and why seclusion rooms and restraints are used.
The direction of our bill is to shed some light on what is going on in our classrooms regarding physical restraint or the seclusion of our students.
Opponents of the scream rooms were abundant. Robert Blackmore is a father from Hebron.
We're caging up kids like they're animals, and now you're taking a 5 or 6-year-old special needs kid, tossing him into a room and slamming the door behind him. I don't think you're setting a good example.
Jim McGahey is from the Office of Protection and Advocacy for Persons with Disabilities.
There's just no justification educationally for including seclusion in a plan for education. It has no real educational value.
A 2007 law states that scream rooms can be used if they are part of a child's individualized educational plan. And Senator Terry Gerontada, the committee chair, says there is an argument for a therapeutic timeout, but accountability is key.
It may be appropriate that a child needs so-called anything from time out or blow off some steam to something, that goes as far as seclusion rooms. But what we don't have is an understanding of how often this occurs, and we want to make sure that it's part of an individualized education plan.
At the state capitol, Jim Altman, Fox Connecticut.
Stamford fire officials are hoping a new law will prevent another tragedy like the fire on Christmas Day that killed 5 people. At a public hearing at the state capitol this week, Stamford's mayor and fire officials testified on a bill created in response to the deadly fire. It would require smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in all residential buildings.
Early detection devices save lives, and where we have the opportunity to have them installed, every opportunity to have them installed, we should.
That was Stamford's mayor. The bill also requires smoke and CO detectors in homes undergoing renovations if they are occupied and the work requires a permit. The home on Shippen Avenue was under renovation when it burned down. It is still not clear if it had working smoke detectors. There is also a push to legalize the debut of mixed martial arts in the state. A series of public hearings on the issue was held this week. It's legalized and regulated in 44 other states, and now mixed martial arts, or MMA, is gaining a following in Connecticut. Some Connecticut lawmakers seem confident this bill will make it to the next round instead of getting a KO. Fox Connecticut's Javon Vital reports.
Cross. Uppercut. You have to be quick. Punch. Oh, uppercut. Nimble. And think on your feet, or you might just get knocked off them. This is the world of mixed martial arts, and lawmakers are taking a closer look at legalizing it as a professional regulated sport in Connecticut. One of the more well-known types of MMA is the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and supporters hope something along those lines will end up in a place like Hartford's XL Center or Bridgeport's Webster Bank Arena.
It's a win-win for not only cities like Bridgeport and Hartford, but for the state in terms of revenue that it would generate.
4 to 6% of the ticket sales will go to the state, and those ticket sales could be in the millions of dollars. And then not only that, but it helps the local businesses, the restaurants, the hotels, the vendors.
Okay.
There you go.
Over at the Lion's Den in Middletown, trainers like Ronald Vasconcelos believe legalizing the sport is past due.
When they close the cage, it's just you and the other guy.
Now, one of the most important factors when it comes to MMA is, of course, safety, and Ronald tells me safety is always at the forefront when it comes to a sport like this.
The guy get hit on the jaw, drops, the fight is over. The guy gets choked, the fight is over.
It's a combat sport. I was a former executive director of the Nevada Athletic Commission with over 1,000 individual fights under my purview. The most serious injury we had was a broken arm.
So from pushes to please, several people are confident putting Connecticut ringside with MMA won't turn into a sucker punch.
Now I'm a resident of Connecticut, and I feel that is my hometown now. The whole state represents my home. So when I fight, I want that public to be behind me.
Javon Vital, Fox, Connecticut.
Connecticut trappers may soon be facing stricter regulations. House Bill 5324 would keep leg hold traps at least 1,500 feet away from places where you typically find children. That includes schools, daycare centers, parks and playgrounds, as well as public roads and highways. Supporters argue the traps are not only inhumane, but are also a threat to children and household pets.
As much as we'd like to think we can control who goes in a trap, when they're out there, they're not selective. Any curious child or animal, wild or domestic, that stumbles upon the trap can fall victim to it.
Critics of the bill argue it's just a move to get leg hold traps completely banned in Connecticut. Medical marijuana has a long history here in Connecticut. It's been brought up several times, but has always fallen short. That includes last year. But a few changes were made on the legislation, and now it is once again being heard and considered by lawmakers. Jen Bernstein takes a look at the renewed efforts.
And I don't do a lot of the things that normal people do. I have a son, 16. I can't play basketball with him. It's tough going to the beach.
Barry William used to roam these hallways freely in his job as a lobbyist. He had to stop 6 years ago as his Parkinson's grew worse. William uses marijuana to help ease his symptoms, and now he's back to push for this year's medical marijuana bill.
It's made a difference, or makes a difference in how I feel.
The Judiciary Committee listened to testimony for and against the latest version of the bill. It allows the palliative use of marijuana for debilitating medical conditions like cancer, Crohn's, and Parkinson's.
Hopefully after this year, we can have things change.
Staunch opponent Senator Tony Boucher was the first to testify. While she remains against the bill, her stance on one aspect has softened.
If this were restricted to those that are terminally ill, and you can set a time frame of your own, as I said, I would certainly be here to support it along with all of you.
Medical marijuana is against federal law, though more than a dozen states have passed it, and it's clear lawmakers here are still divided.
If it was up to me, if I was the chair, I would just box the bill because it's illegal, and you're asking us to vote for something that's illegal.
Meanwhile, patients like Barry Williams wait and hope their means of relief is made legal.
Passage of this bill would be helpful not only for me, but a lot of other people.
That was Fox Connecticut's Jen Bernstein reporting. As you can see, the topics are as varied as the opinions, and there is plenty more to come. Follow me on Twitter at Laurie Perez for the up-to-the-moment updates. And don't forget, if you missed something on The Real Story, you can now watch it online by going to ctnow.com. You can also catch us on YouTube. Thanks for watching this week's edition of The Real Story. We'll see you here again next week.